Did Adobe's subscription annoy you too, especially when you tried to cancel it? You clicked cancel, only to face another bill on the way out, an early termination fee on an annual subscription. This was no minor inconvenience. Adobe built one of the world's most profitable software empires on this model. Then, in the space of 2 days, two things happened. Adobe's longtime CEO announced his departure, and the company agreed to a settlement worth $150 million. 3 months later, the old Adobe did something that once seemed unthinkable. It began opening its products for free. Adobe closed the door on the way out. Now it is being forced to throw the entrance wide open. How did its most profitable idea become a dangerous weakness? And how could a man named in the lawsuit end up holding the keys to the entire company? Cage. It did not begin with a cage. It began with freedom. In 1982, John Warnock and Charles Geschke left Xerox's research center after the company declined to turn their page description language into a commercial product. They founded Adobe. Their PostScript technology made it possible to reproduce on paper exactly what had been created on a screen. It launched the desktop publishing revolution. Then came Illustrator, Photoshop, Premiere, and Acrobat. Adobe was not merely selling software. It was selling professionals a new way to work. Buy the box, install it, create a file. The software is yours. In May 2013, that freedom of choice ended. Creative Suite 6 became the last version users could buy forever. New versions of Adobe's flagship applications would be available only through Creative Cloud, billed monthly or annually. For Adobe, this solved a major problem. Instead of sporadic revenue spikes after new releases, the company gained a predictable stream of money every month. For users, the meaning of the word own had changed. Keep paying and the tool keeps working. Stop paying and you lose access to applications your livelihood may depend on. Petitions against the mandatory subscription gathered tens of thousands of signatures. Photographers, designers, and students pleaded for the right to buy the software once. Adobe did not back down, and the market quickly showed the company why it did not have to. In the third quarter of 2013, paid Creative Cloud subscriptions passed 1 million. By the end of fiscal 2014, they had reached nearly 3.5 million. The protest was loud. The cash flow was louder. And this is where the convenient story breaks. The one in which brilliant founders create the product and hired managers later ruin it. Warnock and Geschke were still co-chairmen of Adobe's board. The men who had given designers new tools of freedom did not stop the model that made access to those tools temporary. Geschke died in 2021. Warnock died in 2023. But one thought kept appearing on user forums, its original author now impossible to identify. Adobe has no customers. Adobe has hostages. For years, it sounded like a bitter joke. Then the regulators arrived. Cracks. By the early 2020s, Adobe appeared almost untouchable. Its formats were standards, its applications were taught in schools, and customer files had accumulated inside its ecosystem for years. But outside that ecosystem, a generation of tools emerged with no need to inherit Adobe's rules. Canva simplified design. DaVinci Resolve offered a powerful free entry point into video editing. Affinity sold applications without a mandatory subscription, and Figma moved collaborative design directly into the browser. In 2022, Adobe agreed to buy Figma for $20 billion. Regulators in the United Kingdom and the European Union saw a risk that a major competitor would be eliminated. the deal collapsed. Adobe paid Figma a $1 billion termination fee. Imagine trying to buy a $20,000 car, having the deal blocked, leaving the car at the dealership, and still owing the seller $1,000. Adobe surrendered exactly 5% of the deal's value and walked away empty-handed. And soon its own customers would tell regulators what it felt like to pay a company while trying to leave it. In June 2024, the Justice Department sued Adobe and two of its executives, David Wadhwani and Maninder Sawhney. Prosecutors alleged that Adobe failed to disclose a substantial early termination fee clearly enough and intentionally made cancellation confusing, with extra pages, delays, warnings, and last-minute attempts to keep users from leaving. Put yourself in a designer's place. The project is finished, the client has not paid yet, there is no next job, and you cancel the subscription so the money you have left will last until the end of the month. You expect one expense to finally disappear. Instead, Adobe shows you a fee, taking money you had already set aside for rent, groceries, or another month without work. In March 2026, Adobe agreed to a $150 million settlement, $75 million in civil penalties, and another $75 million in free services for customers. The company did not admit the allegations, but agreed to disclose the fee clearly in advance and make cancellation easier. Half the settlement would be returned not as cash, but as access to Adobe's own products. The company, accused of holding paying users too tightly, was now giving part of its service away for free. And at that very moment, the entire model faced a threat that could not be buried in subscription terms. The defining fear around artificial intelligence was that it would take jobs from designers, photographers, and editors. Mass unemployment among them has not arrived, but one of the clearest blows landed on the giant that had spent decades selling them tools. Adobe kept growing revenue and profit, yet by its summer 2026 low, its shares had fallen almost 70% from their February 2024 peak. The market was not punishing Adobe for failing to make money. It feared AI would turn expensive professional functions into a few words, and people would no longer have to pay Adobe for them. Retreat. Against this collapse in market value, Shantanu Narayan announced that after 18 years leading Adobe, he would step down once the board found a successor. Narayan had turned subscriptions into a machine for predictable revenue. Now he faced a choice: defend it further or retreat. The very next day, that settlement was announced. 2 days, 2 documents, and a model that was alienating users while frightening investors. 3 months later, Narayan chose not to defend it, but to stage a controlled retreat. He acknowledged that people were already coming to Adobe for a quick solution, and if the company failed to seize that moment, it would send them to competitors itself. Adobe expanded free access to its creative products and postponed planned changes to prices and product tiers. According to analyst Alex Zukin's calculations, the price of this retreat was roughly $500 million in foregone growth in recurring revenue. That is how much Adobe was prepared to leave on the table for now, rather than lose users to competitors forever. The old Adobe asked for a credit card first and opened the product second. Now, the order was changing. Solve the user's problem first, ask for money later. For a company that had spent more than a decade conditioning the market to mandatory payments, this was not a pricing adjustment. It was a retreat from its most powerful weapon. And the order to retreat came from a CEO who had already announced his departure. If the bet works, it will become Narayan's final great pivot. If it fails, the bill will land on the desk of whoever takes his chair. Thaw. David Wadhwani, who leads the division behind Photoshop, Acrobat, Premiere, and Firefly, explained the new approach. A person once searched for a way to summarize a PDF and landed on a page offering a subscription. Now, Adobe opens the document, completes the task for free, and only then reveals the paid options. First the result, then the habit. Only then the payment. For a company that had spent more than a decade beginning the relationship with a credit card, this was a complete reversal. The first numbers showed why Adobe made the turn. Traffic to creativity and productivity on Adobe.com rose by more than 50%, while monthly users of free creative tools jumped from 50 million to 90 million. A larger audience does not guarantee a return to the old growth, but the change is real. Adobe is no longer trying to hold people before they leave. Now, it is trying to become useful before they pay. Keys. And here, the story takes one final turn. Wadhwani helped move Adobe to subscriptions. In 2024, his name appeared among the defendants in a lawsuit over how the company disclosed fees and handled cancellations.
That does not prove personal wrongdoing. The allegations were contested, and the settlement was not an admission of liability. 2 years later, Bloomberg named him as one of the 2 leading internal candidates for CEO. A man who helped build the old model may end up leading its reconstruction. As of August 14, 2026, no successor had been announced, and Narayan remained Adobe's chair and CEO. So this story does not yet have a tidy ending. In 2013, Adobe replaced ownership with rent. Stop paying and you lose access to the tools of your trade. In 2026, the same company is offering access first and asking for payment later. Not because it suddenly became generous, but because its customers finally have a real choice. They can try, compare, and leave. Adobe spent more than a decade learning how to hold users through subscriptions. Now it will have to learn how to earn their return. Because once a hostage is free, loyalty can no longer be charged to their credit card. If you are drawn to stories about corporations whose greatest strengths become traps, subscribe to Downfall Dossier. Every empire leaves a body. We do the autopsy.